Breathe deeply into your balls, imagining your testicles expanding like lungs. When you exhale, imagine your testicles deflating like your lungs would. Most men never breathe into their balls consciously. This simple practice can be used to stimulate your sexergy and begin to rotate it around the microcosmic orbit. Yes. Yes, that's right, guys, gals, and pals. If you happen to have balls, just remember, you can breathe deeply into them. Oh, and Justin Trudeau, if you missed it, is having rocks thrown at his face at a rally. Anti-maskers. Anti-maskers are doing a rally right now in Vancouver. They're there. I could not attend it because I was attending the climate change direct action rally this morning, which was honestly a blast, not only to be back on the streets at rallies. Took Chico there. It was Chico's first rally ever. So he's an official lefty. He got his paws. So that was cute. Do you think the NDP plateau decrease has to do with the leader being a person of color, or is it policy based? I think it's not because Jagmeet Singh is a person of color. I think it has a lot to do with the fact that in these elections, because it's very concentrated and quick, whatever is a big headline in the story is going to dominate the news cycle, especially in Canada, for that little bit, and that's what's going to also change people are very swayable, especially Quebec itself. Quebec is very, very, like, they will swing in opposite directions in terms of their voting desires very rapidly. So if you have a story out there that's like, hey, Justin Trudeau is getting literal rocks thrown at him by a bunch of anti-maskers and anti-vaskers, then that's going to take the entire news cycle story for a while. That's going to take a lot of the energy away from Jagmeet Singh. Jagmeet Singh's messaging has not been like anything that extreme. He hasn't come out and been like, I'm now going to propose something that's just radically leftist. It's been kind of like, well, I've already announced that I'm going to eliminate all interest on student debt. So I'm going to freeze all student debt in Canada. I'm going to build affordable housing for the homeless, things like that. But those aren't as like, if he had come out and said something like, I am going to make all university free in this country. I am going to guarantee every single Canadian gets pharmacare. Every single Canadian gets mental health awareness. Every single Canadian gets dental care, eye care. Like if he came out and just was like that, really Bernie Sanders, the whole thing, and just like talk consistently, like, this, it's us versus the 1%, and all these, the real welfare recipients are the corporations, and it's the corporations that get all this money. Like just keep with that messaging, that stuff that resonates, and actually be passionate behind it, you would probably see another upswing, because that's what was happening. He was the only person who was coming out in defense of, say, Indigenous rights, when other leaders were like, yes, this is a tragedy, but at the same time, we still have to celebrate Canada Day. Jagmeet Singh was the one like, no, this is like, this is something that we need to stop and reflect on, because Canada committed genocide. There's no other way to talk about this. All right, let's quickly hear Justin Trudeau talk about getting rocks thrown at his face.
Now to the federal campaign, where things have taken a violent turn. Protests targeting Liberal leader Justin Trudeau have become so aggressive that police are now investigating. Protesters have been following the Trudeau...
Investigating, but did not stop. And has anyone here been watching some of the old growth forest activism that's been going on in northern BC? Over 800 people have been arrested in that protest. It is now the largest effort of civil disobedience in Canadian history. So everyone like who's been a part of that at the front lines, like, you are now a part of Canadian history. You are part of the largest civil disobedience movement in this country's history, which is pretty wild.
Campaigned for weeks. He calls them anti-vaxxer mobs. At one event in Bolton, Ontario, the situation...
Just call me. I'm doing a whole Joe
volatile,
Rogan segment. Just you ready.
Canceled it. Last night in London, Ontario, it got even worse. Trudeau was leaving a campaign stop at a brewery when gravel was thrown at him. Police in London have confirmed they've opened an investigation. As for Trudeau, he has no plans to stop campaigning in person.
A few misguided individuals who don't believe in science,
I could see if I can find a link,
who just want to watch things burn, are not going to make us flinch from doing the right thing. We will not stop talking about how we move forward.
Who want to watch us burn. It's kind of a weird way to put it. Okay, so I don't know if you've seen the latest polling numbers, but they were frightening, to say the least. Maybe I can get twitter.com. Oh, it'll be Canadian politics, right? Canadian polling. Okay. Yeah. Okay. This was frightening to see. So we have the Liberals and the Conservatives kind of still in a dead heat. One of them is probably going to take off a little bit right before the election. The NDP has dropped a couple points federally. The Green Party and the Bloc just virtually unrepresented. But the PPC, the goddamn PPC, look at this. +8. +8, 10%. This is horrifying. And if you don't know who the PPC is, I'm going to give you a big introduction. But let's learn a little about, well, let's hear from Maxime Bernier, because we have to learn what he's all about too.
There's a lot of people that are doing that fight with us,
including his supporters who protest at Justin Trudeau's rallies.
The most racist party in Canada, the PPC, has found an edge. It's found a couple edges, because I'm going to show you the guy who edges, literally edges. He does not allow himself to leave, let the sacred semen leave his body. But before we get to the semen retention guy, I got to tell you this. The PPC used to be super anti-immigration. That was a big thing. They were basically like, you know, all these illegal aliens trying to come to the country are here to destroy us, and we have to other them, and all that used to be the PPC's basic messaging. Now they've found a brand new angle, and they've been doing it for a while, and that happens to be something that Rebel News, the conservative YouTube channel that started Lauren Southern, amongst others ghouls, is talking about how this is all about lockdowns, masking, Canadian gulags, as put forward by Justin Trudeau. If you're traveling and you come into the country, you have to stay at a 4 to 5 star hotel. You know, that's the suffrage that you'll go through in this state, this police state of ours.
This picture from last night, the Trudeau rally. Have you asked them, discourage them from doing that and denounce that?
No, I don't control these people, but they're doing that peacefully.
He said that
they're not doing it peacefully. Maxime, come on. They're throwing rocks. They're throwing rocks at the Prime Minister. Pretty sure in other contexts you'd condemn that.
Monday morning, but after gravel was thrown at Trudeau, Bernier tweeted, "Some idiot threw pebbles at Mr. Trudeau yesterday. I condemn it. Words are our weapons, but physical violence is always wrong." Bernier notes when he was egged last week in Saskatoon, none of the other leaders came to his defense.
People of Canada.
But you must understand, you know, I took an egg to the face, so come on. Like, are you serious? Rocks are a little worse than eggs.
Choose change, they can get change.
Bernier has become the political champion for some opponents of vaccination passports and mask mandates. He himself was charged for defying Manitoba public health orders in June when he failed to do a 2-week quarantine.
What if you're arrested again today?
I'm taking.
That's what made him the darling child, by the way, of the right to the far right, was the fact that he actually got arrested. And so they're like, oh, whoa, he speaks for us. He's willing to get arrested because he won't wear a mask. He's not going to let 1985 Greg Orwin control him or the big government.
A chance, and we'll see. But if I have to go back to jail to defend our freedoms and the freedom of our Canadians, I'll do that.
In parts of Manitoba,
the freedom to make other people sick. I want the freedom to be able to, you know, spit on their face.
But with the lowest vaccine uptake, that is very popular.
I want to stand up. I want to stand up for our freedoms in this country.
Maxime Bernier is the...
PPC is different. It's neat. So I know you're bringing up how Germany has the AFD, right? The AFD is actually just, like, from what I've watched online, seems to be a lot more tuned with, like, straight up white nationalism, neo-Nazis talking about racial superiority and stuff like that. Whereas this is a little bit more, there's like that Canadianness to it, which obviously makes it like a little more cartoonish and boring. But there's also this element of, like, we are still proud Canadians. And proud Canadians come in all colors, shapes, and sizes. So we have the melting pot experience of Canada. But I still agree that, you know, this country can only sustain so much, and that there are immigrants who are trying to come in and destroy our way of life. At the same time, we live in a dictatorship by a fascist by the name of Justin Trudeau, who is making us do things against our will. He's making it, well, I'm sorry, I should actually give them the respect of pronouncing this properly. He's making us live inside, you know, he's making us go into these gulags, you know, and then sometimes we come in and I didn't get vaccinated, so I had to stay in a 5-star hotel, you know, and it was like living in hell on earth, I tell you. I wasn't allowed to, like, you know, go see my wife or my family, and I had to eat all these gourmet meals and then DoorDash and all that kind of stuff. And oh brother, let me tell you, all about it. It was terrible.
The only politician out there who is talking about that.
So could he have an impact on Election Day?
All right, so that's the big headline right now, is obviously the rise of the PPC. Now, if the PPC is going to rise, and rise it seems to rise, or it is rising. It is, oh, sorry, I just almost got you out of the frame. There you go. All right, we should get to learn some of our local PPC candidates. I spoke a little bit about him yesterday, all right? St. John Rothesay, a general in the Semen Retention Army. Let's learn about Nakula Das. This is a process known as testicle breathing. Breathe deeply into your balls, imagining your testicles expanding like lungs. When you exhale, imagine your testicles deflating like your lungs would. Most men never breathe into their balls consciously. This simple practice can be used to stimulate your sexergy and begin to rotate it around the microcosmic orbit. Yes. Yes, that's right, guys, gals, and impals. If you happen to have balls, just remember, you can breathe deeply into them. Yes. Now, I decided to check out his website. Here we are, Nakula Das, Sexual Alchemy Training, live on YouTube every Thursday. Ooh, fun. Okay, I guess.
Hey, what's up?
Let's start with the, is this the actual trailer? Semen Retention, Napoleon Hill's Best Quotes. All right.
It's Nakula Das.
So this is Semen Retention, Napoleon Hill's Best Quotes on Sex Transmutation from PPC Candidate.
Here, and I'm going to be sharing with you in this video 15 quotes on semen retention and sexual transmutation by the famous author Napoleon Hill. If you are not familiar with Napoleon Hill, it's time to get familiar with Napoleon Hill.
I'm ready.
Napoleon Hill was inspired by Andrew Carnegie, the industrial giant, to spend 25 years of his life studying the most successful as well as thousands of unsuccessful people to create a philosophy of success. He is a father or grandfather, maybe, of the personal development industry.
Good take.
And ultimately, his
don't edit
teachings
that out.
have inspired millions of men to reach greater heights in their careers and in their lives. So you can't have a men's semen retention channel and lifestyle channel and not talk about Napoleon Hill. Let's get into it.
That'd be wild. Are you kidding me? Fucking amateur hour.
Make sure you hit that bell.
No, drop it on me. Oh, the desire for sexual expression is inborn and natural. The desire cannot and should not be submerged or eliminated, but it should not be allowed to dominate or dictate one's behavior.
That's exactly what we're doing with the Spiritual Bad Boys movement. We're not trying to suppress it, and we're not trying to ignore it. We're taking away all the shames, guilts, and taboos, and through the sexual kung fu techniques, we're showing you how to transmute it so you can use that energy properly in your life to achieve whatever it is that you want to achieve, whatever you deem worthy.
I can't wait when I'm on top of my Fortune 500 company and someone's like interviewing me, you know, Time or something. They're like, how did you do this? How did you pull this off, Lance? I was like, gotta tell you, I've retained, all right? I did not release my essence for 25 years until I got on top.
But not be dominated by.
How does anyone take this shit seriously?
Too many guys are dominated by their sexual energy, and therefore they can't build their careers, they can't find great relationships, they're experiencing tons of social anxiety, or they're letting it all off in the towel. And we're showing you guys how to create.
There is your career. What have you done? Everything is there. Your future. You went jerked off. And all you do is feel shame. And you can see your essence just lying there. All the potential. Your failures.
A new life. Let's go to quote number 2. A river may be dammed and its water controlled for a time, but eventually it will force an outlet. The same is true of the emotion of sex. If it is not transmuted into some creative effort, it will find a less positive, less productive outlet. 1 in every 10 guys in America are addicted to porn, watching hours on hours. It's affecting their jobs and their life. 1 out of 6 guys are on antidepressants. Millions of guys are
because of the porn.
About social anxiety, not being motivated, feeling depressed, and having no place in this world.
And that's all from semen.
That is because millions of guys are wasting their semen and not learning this art of sexual transmutation. Learn the art and transform your life.
Fucking be serious. I'm saying stuff that is just beyond the pale. It's ridiculous. Yes, the cause of all of men's woes. Like he really summarizes the MRA entire problem. You know, when you have MRA advocates who are like, we need to talk about so many issues that plague men today, and I'm like, well, you know what? I'm on board with some of these. The high rates of suicide, all right? The high rates of depression, the high rates of substance abuse. We need to talk about that. There's a myriad of factors that are affecting men, and these are the reasons why they have all these problems. It's not cum. It's not just only come. It's like, if only. Do not come. Do not come. I'm gonna come.
Life. Quote number 3. The individuals of greatest achievement tend to be those who have highly...
By the way, if you're just tuning in and you're like, why is Lance in the Canadian election room watching this semen retention guy? This is a candidate for the PPC. Yes, this is an actual candidate running in the Canadian election. Depending on your riding, you have an ability to vote for this as your MP. The semen retention guy could be in Parliament. I'm almost unironically wanting to support this just so I can watch it go down every now and then, you know? I'd like to see what he'd bring to the table, personally. Is he going to stand up every now and then? Mr. Speaker, I think Mr. Prime Minister here has jerked off in the past 24 hours. You can tell, and that's why he's making terrible decisions for this country. Mr. Speaker, I, on the other hand, have retained all my essence, as have every member of my party, and we can rightfully say that Justin Trudeau is wrong on this issue. Because of the cum sock. Again. Semen retention. Use temptation like a weightlifter in the gym. Okay, well, it's only 2 minutes. Teach me more.
Semen retention soldiers.
Yes.
Temptation is everywhere.
True.
You've got Instagram, you've got Twitter, you've got Pornhub, you've got this, you've got that. It's summertime where I'm at. There's more skin out. Temptation's everywhere. Well,
true. Yes. I mean, that's just one of the things. If you never ever allowed yourself to have an orgasm, then probably if you're walking down the street, you might be that weirdo who's just, God, fuck, so much temptation.
From the planet Earth. It's not about getting away from temptation. It's about getting control over yourself so that you can direct yourself throughout your day and put your energy and focus where you want to. It's about drawing strong boundaries. So temptation is a good thing because temptation actually is your weight. It's like going to the gym. You want to get stronger, you need to have resistance training. So what you do when you're at the gym, you're not like, oh, remove the pain, remove the weights. No, you're like, give me more pain, give me more weight.
Yeah, more temptation.
Because you have an intention and attention to grow. So similarly, you have to have that kind of mentality all the time. And when you work with your sexual energy consciously, you're developing that mentality every single waking hour, because every single waking hour your sexual energy wants to spring up and express yourself. And when you see the temptation,
yeah, no shit, you probably have like all these like nocturnal emissions because it's like, oh god, what happened? Oh, that must have been some temptation in my dreams.
You use that energy instead of depleting it outwards. You circulate that energy through the sexual alchemy.
You fucking weirdo. Can you imagine having like a normal conversation, or just like, is this what you talk about when you're on dates? It's like, baby, you have to understand, I have been retending for some time because I mean, my retention has to be strong. I want to be able to succeed in life, but you'll have to forgive me.
Me practices through what I teach my soldiers inside the Semen Retention Army. They use those temptations like weights to get stronger. Don't be afraid of the world. Lean into the world and conquer your body and mind, and you'll become something you've never even dreamed of in this world. I promise you, you're going to flourish in every single way. If you...
Oh my. Semen retention soldiers. I thought at first that was like, that's what he calls his fans or viewers, but now I'm starting to think that's what he calls his semen.
Semen retention soldiers. Are you willing to fight for your own life? You see, every time you're tempted to ejaculate, every time you're tempted to go watch porn, every time you're tempted to masturbate, you are essentially in the fight of your life. You're fighting for your very life force. Now, nature's forgiving, and because of nature's merciful nature. We've taken advantage of that nature. And now we're depleting and depleting and depleting. And right now our world needs more men with full balls, men who have courage to stand up and fight.
You have finite semen or something? I want lots of men with full balls. Yes, my semen soldiers, fill. May they be heavy and weigh you down. May you be unable to walk in the morning because of your gargantuan full balls.
Fight for what they believe for, and the first thing is you need to believe in the value of you, the value of your life, the value of your purpose here. And you may not know the purpose of you being here, but I know if you are listening to this, you have a purpose. If not, you would not be here.
Yeah.
So the question is, are you willing to discover who you are? And if you're willing to do that, that first means eliminating the distractions in your life. Masturbation, porn, and chasing sex is the biggest distraction that is making men all over the world weak.
But like, do they apply this logic, you know, just to get away from the whole ridiculousness of this all? Do they apply this logic to other things? Like if you're someone who's like, I love baking and I really frequently bake and I'll usually bake a couple times a day. I'll make some bread in the morning, maybe some muffins. It's just one of my activities. Is it like you are wasting your life behind the oven? You must stop that. It's like, well, I quite enjoy like, you know, skiing and snowboarding, or I enjoy going bike riding or stuff like that. It's like, you can stop that. Now, it's always focused on the sex. It's the sex that's the scary part, you know?
Many powerful men who aren't distracted are using you. They got you working in their shitty factories and shitty jobs. They're paying you crap. They're overtaxing you.
Holy shit, he's going national populist now.
It's time we build this semen retention army up and we create strong soldiers in this world.
You know what's wild is you can see he wanted to be a politician. Like, this is just the start. The YouTube channel was just the beginning. And now he's like, I am part of the PPC. I'm running in the Canadian election. Get me into parliament. And the semen retention soldiers are ready. Okay? We have representation finally, my comrades. My semen rads.
World. My friends, register for Sex Mastery 101. It's my upcoming webinar. I'm going to share with you the sexual alchemy practices and techniques so that you could be a powerhouse both in and outside the bedroom. The link is in the bio. I love you, my brothers.
Again, actual PPC candidate. Yep. The Canadian election. What a sight to behold. I figured I would just quickly give y'all a 2-second debunking of everything he just said, just so everyone understands that masturbation is actually completely healthy. I will say this, all right? Anything in your life that you do to excess, and that can be watching pornography, it can be having sips of alcohol, it can even be, you know, an activity that isn't the most healthy thing in the world, like eating some candy. Whatever that is, if you're doing it to excess, then yes, there are problems. There are people who are legitimately addicted to pornography. There are people who are legitimately addicted to sex. That is a real condition. Those are all real things. But generally, masturbation is a very healthy practice that is both healthy for all peoples, regardless of your genitalia. Does not matter whatsoever. It's a very healthy practice. It's actually a way for your body to release a whole bunch of drugs. It's a whole bunch of free drugs. You know, you're going to get some serotonin and some dopamine, and not oxycodone, but something similar, like a precursor to it. I don't know. It's just your brain's way of being like, good job. So don't worry, you don't have to listen to the semen retention people. Please just instead listen to actual doctors on the subject. It'll probably make more sense.
Because there's lots of benefits to masturbation. In addition to pleasure, people report improved mood, better sleep, and even more focus. And why is that? And this is not surprising because when you masturbate, you release a number of feel-good hormones, including dopamine, oxytocin,
I was close.
Serotonin, and even
oxytocin. That's it. Oxytocin. Okay, nice. And serotonin. There you go. Your brain's a little dealer. She's like, good job. Here you go.
And masturbation is the ultimate form of safe sex. It not only allows you to experience pleasure, but also allows you to familiarize yourself with what makes.
No pregnancies. None whatsoever. No STDs. No unwanted pregnancies. Nothing. It's safe sex. Totally safe sex.
Makes you excited and gives you pleasure so that you can communicate that with your partner. It also allows some people to experience pleasure without the added stress of intimacy or needing to perform under pressure. The number one myth that I hear about masturbation is that masturbation will make you go blind or have hairy palms. And this is just, in fact, not true. If almost 90% of the population is masturbating, well then we'd have a lot of blind people and a lot of hairy palms. So basically, that is just not true. A lot of this is perpetuated by thought leaders that believe that masturbation is sinful or represents a person being out of control of their own body. And while I'm not here to judge anyone's religious convictions, these myths are just not true. The next thing is something I hear all the time. I get messages all the time asking me, I masturbate every day. Am I ruining my erections? Am I going to ruin my ability to have a normal sex life? Well, that brings me to myth number 2. Masturbation does not cause erectile dysfunction. In fact, it's quite the opposite. Masturbation, when leading to orgasm, actually causes contraction of the pelvic floor muscles. And these pelvic floor muscles are super important for having orgasms and also being able to experience pleasure. So when you're actively exercising these muscles, you will have better orgasms and probably a better sex life. However, there are 2 caveats to this. The number 1 caveat is pornography. So there has been an increase in erectile dysfunction in young men, which correlates with the rise in accessibility to pornography, meaning that it's everywhere. You can't go anywhere without bumping into it if you wanted to find it. And so what does that even mean? Well, watching pornography can actually desensitize a person to normal sexual stimulation and lead to unrealistic expectations of what a sexual encounter should look like. That can also lead to a significant amount of pressure and performance anxiety, which can lead to erectile dysfunction. I get a lot of young patients who have performance anxiety and have issues with erections. And when you think about it, the stress of performing then leads to poor ability to have erections when you have sex, which then compounds that performance anxiety, and you keep going in this vicious cycle. So actually, if you're able to masturbate and get yourself to have erections, that can actually give you some confidence so that when you are going forward with a sexual encounter, you will have the confidence to know that you are capable of getting an erection. And the next caveat is guilt. If you experience guilt from masturbation because of your personal beliefs, then that can be really detrimental to your sexual function and in fact has been linked to depression and anxiety. And it is totally okay to abstain from masturbation if it makes you feel bad. But if it's something that you want to work through, you may seek out a sex therapist to help you work through those issues of guilt associated with masturbation. Myth number 3 is that when you masturbate too much, it reduces your sensitivity. And that's not exactly true. So there's...
Has she talked about breathing through the balls yet? Because if she hasn't talked about breathing through the balls, I don't know if we've learned anything. Do you want movies and Serfs watching the movies? So then come over to the new channels. It's the Serfs cinema. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. Can you do the thing, you know, that thumbs up and comment and all those things that help us out in the algorithm that controls every aspect of our lives? Also, if you happen to have a Facebook account, can you delete it? Like just delete it. You should probably delete your Facebook account because it's not a great company. But hey, if you can't do that for whatever reason, I understand. And could you also go to facebook.com/thesurftimes then and give us a little like and a follow. We're just trying to push back against the fact that people like Ben Shapiro happen to dominate the platform entirely. And when everyone asks why do older generations believe the things they believe, one of the problems is the majority of them on social media use Facebook. So to counter that, we're just going to be on there too now. Also, if you happen to have a union or a worker co-op or even a leftist project, podcast, website, Zoom, MySpace, it doesn't matter. We will advertise it for free on this channel. All you got to do is go to weareserfs.com and use the forms that we got there, weareserfs.com. Thanks, everybody.
To our gods, Tigro and Peyton El Jus, we pray to you, our sky daddies, to keep us safe from harm. To our monarchs, Tom Spiker and the Tim Caucus, we shall humbly clean your golden toilets in your spatial palaces. To our lords, Ultra Wolf, Evan Nudie, Trevor R., Alexander Thaler, Ryan Lubin, and Jeff Lamb, we are eternally grateful for this small segment of land for us to toil and work. To our knights, Ariane McCarthy, Daniel Sutton, Ants Are Still Running the World, Coulter Smith, Val 9000, Jenna Tall, Dark Puppy, Quiet One 85, Anna Loves Riley, Omni, Riley and Anna, Poodlehawk, Multimundi, Trevor Janis, Lemmy 101, Anthropophojack, Sharon 42, Chronic to Hemphog, Catherine, Bone Jenny, Radical Maniac, Ramona Costa, Jimmy Big Nuts, Violent Orchard, Sophie Baby, Political Puppy, Andreas Chiringuito, Zach Christensen, Jopi, Josh Mickelson, Todd Buckingham, and Todd Lajeunesse. We raise our glasses, we raise our swords, and we salute you, our friends. And to Lance, you are the wind beneath my wings.